there was a huge change in crowd control, in police crowd control in France. I mean, in like 50 years ago, basically you would have demonstrations, trade union demonstrations, going very smoothly, very easily. The cops wouldn't even have their helmets on and anything. And nowadays...
And the trade unions had their own crowd control unit.
They still do. They still do. But nowadays, the change of the crowd control method makes it that the cops are more and more close to the protest. They almost touch it. It's like a new philosophy of crowd control. It is engineered like that. Supposedly to avoid the black blocs or the cortège de tête, the head of the protest, to have a free rein, to be able to either break or burn something. The problem is that usually street fighters are fast and they're never caught by police. The people who are caught, the people who are at the front line, usually who get smashed, who get hit, are the ones who are not used to street fighting, who don't run away, who are not, fight savvy, let's say. And so what happens basically is that the regular people get beaten up, and we have seen a huge amount of videos on the social networks of people, sometimes aged people, that fall on the ground, get stamped over by police. And basically this method that changed of being in close contact with the demonstration produces non-stop violence.
Richard Verly, we saw with the Yellow Vests movement that, well, first of all, violence paid off at the beginning because they were violent and the government backtracked on a carbon tax. But then the violence also turned in the president's favor. The longer it went on, the less popular the Yellow Vests were. Is violence being used as a tool by the government? Is that the next step to do the same method?
Well, clearly, Macron government would like to see the protesters being distanced from the population. They'd like to see, let's say, normal people to go back to work and not to accept this level of violence. Now, maybe two or three things. First thing, I believe, unfortunately, violence always takes place in France at some time. Because, as you said, violence pays in France. Don't forget that the Gilets jaunes, the movement kind of ended up, but a lot of money was put in the economy, especially in the manner of subsidies or whatever by Macron at that time. Now it's more difficult because there is no more money left. But financially, violence, got a result. Another remark is we can focus on police violence, and I think it's very fair to say. But I was myself caught yesterday evening, so Thursday evening, at the end of the protest, with a group of street fighters, as you call them. And it is just scary. Let's admit it. And what they are doing...
How many people were there in this group?
There were certainly a group of 20 to 30 people erupting, literally coming out of a street. I was there with my scooter, and they were coming to me, and I realized, at the moment I did not realize because it was not in the vicinity of the main area of protest, but they had spilled over in the streets. So it's clearly that the police should be careful and should take a certain number of precautions, but we are facing in France and in other countries groups of very violent people, and I believe it's going to increase in the coming days if no political solution is found.
Yeah, and there's also destruction of public property. Burning of kiosks where they sell newspapers in Paris, of bus shelters in other cities, of the front door of the, as you mentioned, of the town hall in Bordeaux, which was apparently linked to the extreme right. And I think, in fact, it's not going to benefit anyone financially in any other way. It actually just plays evidently, finally, into the hands of Marine Le Pen and the extreme right.